Hello everyone, welcome to me, your host, Christian Watson. I love saying that. But it's good to be back with you guys here today. I mean, it's just, really, it's wonderful. And, look, who here remembers Toy Story? Toy Story was a major movie series that included the ever so eminent Buzz Lightyear and Woody the farmer or the cowboy, whatever his name was. And it also included people called the two potato humanoid figures called Mr. Potato Head. Now, if you're already looking at this video and thinking, Christian, what in the world are you about to rope me into? Please don't be too worried, because I'm not going to rope you into anything that's going to be mundane or shallow, but the topic is going to seem silly at first. So, as you guys can see right here, theblaze.com reported today, February 25th, that Mr. Potato Head, according to the company that manufactures him, is no longer a Mr. after Hasbro retools the toy to be gender neutral. Now, there are probably several things happening in the minds of a few people that constitute my audience, or who may be looking at this video. You are probably thinking to yourself, they being Hasbro and the broader force being the institutional left, they're trying to indoctrinate children. They're trying to change the narrative. They're trying to do... And you may also be thinking, Christian, this is so insignificant and unimportant. Why in the world does this demand my attention? This demands your attention because, quite literally, this move reflects the fact that a paradigm is being used to estimate the value of things in every level of society. And that paradigm, my friends, is a paradigm that is ripe with identity and that is devoid of reason. Let's read the story a little bit so you can get what I'm talking about. Hasbro, the makers of Mr. Potato Head, has announced that the longtime toy has been made over and now has no fixed gender. Mr. Potato Head, a childhood staple for many generations of children, has been around for about 7 decades. Excuse me, I'm not trying to laugh. So, according to the Associated Press, Hasbro renamed Mr. Potato Head to honor his gender neutrality and will simply call him Potato Head. So, this decision in the 90s or 80s would have been unthinkable. But of course, again, this poses a very important question for us to consider as pensive thinkers. Is there a point when culture becomes the lens by which we see everything from? Is there a point by which culture becomes the tool that we use to repurpose things? How exactly do we operate in the world? That's the primary sentiment at the crux of this story. Some of you may just see a toy being rebranded. Others may see an attack on children. I see a fundamental question as to how we interact in the world. Because there is absolutely no necessity for Hasbro to go in and repurpose this toy. What does it do? Children typically do not understand political concepts. Children typically, if they have any political beliefs whatsoever, when I say children, I mean people who are in the demographic of Mr. Potato Head, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they typically are reflections or extensions of their parents' beliefs. And in many instances, they grow out of those, and they develop beliefs of their own, and they keep developing them, and keep developing them. I mean, when I was 12 years old, I was an extremely religious conservative. Now I'm conservative leaning, but I'm more libertarian now. I still believe in God, but back then, I believed in, making atheism illegal and stuff. And my mom didn't believe any of that kind of stuff. That was just a me thing. I had gotten that from certain people I watched on the internet, but I grew out of that at 12. Imagine if I tried to have a sense of purpose or a sense of how the world works at that age, and I was presented with this toy, and I used the toy to try to understand how the world works. Now, of course, it sounds ridiculous because guess what? That doesn't happen. Children don't use toys to gain epistemological revelation. Children use toys to get pleasure, to get enjoyment. And oftentimes, that enjoyment, like anything else, is temporal, which is why the toys keep getting played with. So there is no material purpose that is going to fix or correct anything or make anything better by taking away the gender from Mr. Potato Head. But it does show us that there is a material purpose and there is a material consequence for how certain cultural narratives filter through our world. The idea that you have to reflect certain norms or reflect certain beliefs by repurposing them for an audience that doesn't understand them is nothing more than vacuous grandstanding, in all honesty. This is not about Mr. Potato Head. This is not about even the concept of being gender neutral or whatever. This is about how we want to dictate truth, how we want to dictate an understanding of the world to people who are still developing. And on the topic of gender neutrality, listen, I have nothing against trans folks. I love them, nothing against them whatsoever. I don't see you as an identity. I see you as an individual. But I have everything against people attempting to put their subjective understanding of the world onto other people, especially when those people don't understand what they're seeing, which would seem to suggest, Christian, if they don't understand, why are you concerned? Because even if they don't understand, kids can adapt subconscious things, and that can take them into their future with a sort of subliminal understanding of things. So the fact that people understand that there are men and women genders, the fact that those things are well known, the fact that those things are modeled in front of children, kind of informs their world and gives them a basis by which they could critique that model if they want to. Isn't it funny? The left wants to eliminate models for kids, but those same models are the models that they can use to critique. You kind of have to know the rules so you can break them. You know that adage? It makes no sense. Deconstructionism can only go so far. It can only go so far before it unravels on itself. In all seriousness, there's no reason to do this. But it says everything about our culture, everything about how we approach truth, everything about how we value truth. And we should really be concerned about what that means for the future. We should really be concerned as Americans, as pensive people, about what subjective approbations of the truth mean. Representation means nothing if the representation is in itself going towards a vacuous purpose. If you can find me a fulfilling, concrete purpose by which this decision is going to actually do anything of benefit or broaden understandings or cause revelations, I'm willing to listen. But right now, it seems like a political statement to me. And political statements only work, A, if the people who they're being directed to understand them. Kids typically do not. B, if the people who they're being directed to have sympathies. Most parents don't want their kids presented with this stuff. And C, if the people they're being directed to aren't critical. But we're going to be critical tonight. And hopefully, all of you will be critical about this as well. So, think on it. As always, my friends, I love you, and please stay pensive. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this message, please be sure to support my channel through PayPal. My PayPal is @officialcwatson, as you see on the screen. Any amount helps. Thank you so much, and stay pensive.